Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
You are listening to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the show today. Really do appreciate it. What a Sunday. What a Sunday. A lot of people lost money. A lot of books. As I always say, the tall buildings out in Vegas, the tall buildings in New Jersey, where casinos are very big now, they're out there and tall for a reason, and the reason why is they win a lot, and the books were they were raking in the money on Sunday because a lot of people bet on the Chiefs and a lot of people bet on the over, and neither of those hit. So because of that, a lot of money was made for the big casinos and the big books and bookies all over, but especially in Vegas, where we call it, Party City. So what a Sunday. I mean, there was so much that went into it, and we're going to dive into every single angle that you look at, that you could possibly look at this game. But I really want to start off right away with something that Brady did. Because, look, this is always going to be the conversation, right? When Brady goes out and wins his 7th ring like that, it's always going to be a Brady conversation. What did Brady do? Well, what Brady did was he now has 7 rings, more than any other franchise out there. Brady himself has more rings than the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are widely known as the class of the NFL, the most rings out there. The Steelers and the 49ers for decades were always the winningest franchises, right? Brady now has more rings than both of them. He has 7. The Steelers have 6. What Brady has done is he has now put a halt or a stop into 3 possible dynasties. Back in 2000, when he won his first one, the greatest show on turf, the St. Louis Rams, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, these guys were looking like they were going to not just go back to many Super Bowls, but win many Super Bowls. Brady beat them. They never got back, right? They never went on to live that big dynasty. 2012, when the Seattle Seahawks, they beat the brakes out of Peyton Manning and the Broncos. Then they go and meet Tom Brady and the Patriots to go back-to-back, right? To win 2 in a row. Brady stops that from happening. The Seattle Seahawks never got back. And now look at what Russell Wilson, he's looking at this situation and says, I won out. And then you have the Kansas City Chiefs with a guy in Patrick Mahomes who is the best football player I've seen at his age in the history of the NFL. A guy who people thought could not lose because he's been in the NFL for 3 years and he's never lost a game by more than 8 points. Like, that stuff doesn't happen. And it was a team that brought everyone back from the year before. Everyone on the coaching staff back. Looks like it's going to be a dynasty. And what does Brady do? Nah, you're not winning 2 in a row on my watch. So what Brady has now done is he's won 7 rings, more than any other franchise out there. He has put a halt or a stop into now his 3rd dynasty trying to go up against him. And he has put in to bed any type of GOAT conversation if there was one out there. He's done all of that by winning Sunday. But that's not the biggest thing that Brady accomplished with his Super Bowl win on Sunday. What Brady did with that win on Sunday, he ascended himself to a level in American team sports that before Sunday night, there was only one person at that level. What that level is, I am the system. I am the championship culture. I am the winning. Where I go, winning goes. Now, some other guys maybe could have gotten there, but for many reasons, we never got to see it. Right? Bill Russell, he won one of the greatest champions of all time, right? 11 rings. He won them all in Boston. He never went anywhere else. Now, maybe he could have won if he went somewhere else, but he never got to. Joe Montana, he tried, almost accomplished it, but not quite. If you guys remember, Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls with the Niners, then left and played some years with the Kansas City Chiefs. He had a pretty good Chiefs team, and he made a very good Chiefs team to a really good Chiefs team. But they got to an AFC title game, and they never got any further than that. Brett Favre tried it. Won a Super Bowl with the Packers. Then it was Rodgers' time to step up. He left. He got the Vikings all the way to the NFC Championship game, and the run stopped there. Never got any further than that. Michael Jordan, the great Michael Jordan, tried it. After winning 6 rings with the Bulls, as we all know, he took a couple years off, and then he went to the Washington Wizards. He was averaging 20-plus points a game there, but he never even sniffed the playoffs. Never even got close to making a playoff series. The great Michael Jordan leaves Chicago, nothing ever happens. The truth is that Michael Jordan didn't win at all unless he had Phil Jackson as his coach. And now we get to Tom Brady. And everyone I just mentioned. And look, this isn't supposed to be a knock on any of them. They're all champions. Some of them are the greatest champions we've ever seen and will ever see in sports. It's not a knock. It's just a different level. Because now we get to Brady. Tom Brady has now done this outside of the New England Patriots organization. He has now done this without Bill Belichick. He has now done this without the greatest coach to ever coach the game. He has now done this in his first season with a new team, and it's not just any new team. He did this with a team that hasn't made the playoffs since 2007. He did this with a head coach that was a good coach, but not a proven championship head coach. In fact, a coach that has never even made the Super Bowl before as a head coach. So what is this level that Tom Brady has reached by winning the Super Bowl? Well, he has now been granted entrance to a room that previously was occupied by LeBron James and only LeBron James. That is the room of, I am the system. Bring me in and we win. It's me, not you. I am the system. It does not matter what shape your franchise was in before I got there. But once you bring me in, we will be competing for championships immediately and constantly, year in and year out, while I am there. And by the way, when I leave, everything will go to hell. New England makes the playoffs every single year. New England wins the AFC East every single year. Brady leaves. They don't even get close to the postseason. Brady also took another page out of LeBron's playbook, which was, let me try dabbling in a little coaching. If we remember throughout the year, Bruce Arians started to finally pull back the no risk it, no biscuit mindset. And he let Brady do his game plan and his offense. They excelled from there. And then one of the best things Brady did was when he took a massive page out of LeBron's playbook, when he became the discreet GM, and I put air quotes around discreet. Oh, you know Antonio Brown? Yeah, I know he's got a lot of issues over there, but he's my guy. Bring him in. I promise it will work. Leonard Fournette? Man, I just heard the Jaguars let him go. We could use him. Bring him in. It will work. Gronk. I know Gronk retired and he's out of shape. Bring him in. It will work. And so when you look at all the all-time greatest athletes in American team sports, there are now two that we can confidently say where they go, the winning follows. Where they go, they are the system. The winning follows. And I do think that this reframes the way people are going to look at the Brady-Belichick era. Because for some it will simply become Brady was the guy. Brady was the straw that stirred the drink. What Brady did Sunday night, he ended any doubt that he was a part of some bigger system. That his success was not just because of how great he is, but he needed the Bill Belichick system to go with it. He ended that thought. And he showed us, no. Brady is the system. Brady is the culture. And the winning follows him. And the fact that he went through Breeze, Rodgers, and Mahomes on the way to this Super Bowl win, it only helps that out. And what's great is he even did it the way LeBron does it. During the season, tell me if this sounds familiar. The team isn't playing so great. They lose key primetime games. People start counting them out. They're 7-5. They get blown out twice by the Saints, their division rival. Sounds familiar, right? LeBron's teams. Oh, they don't play good enough defense. Oh, can LeBron really flip the switch this year? I don't know. This team just feels different. And then what happens? Well, Brady did that. And the fact that you now know, the fact that you now hear his teammates, his coaches, people littered through that Buccaneers franchise, all saying our confidence, our belief, all came from one guy. That's number 12. And how they all immediately became so loyal and infatuated with him, it only reminds you of one athlete ever who happens to be the greatest athlete in American team sports history. And that's LeBron James. And so that is what Tom Brady secured last night. What Brady secured last night is that the winning is about him. The culture is him. The system is him. And there's only one other person that we know that we can say that with. And that's LeBron James. Brady entered that room on Sunday night. And that's impressive. It really is. It's something different. It's something that only we've really seen two athletes do. And it's not even just the fact that they're doing it their way. The fact that they're showing everyone that, look, if you have me on your team, yeah, you know what? We might not win the championship every year, but we're going to be in the mix. There is no doubt about that. And we're probably going to be either two of the last team standings or the only last team standing, because you have me, who is the system, who is the culture, and I bring the winning. I mean, if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's why I elevate Brady to this level, because a lot of people are probably out there thinking, Kayvon, what are you talking about? Brady has 7 rings now. He's the greatest football player to ever play. LeBron, LeBron only has 4 rings. There's still a guy named Michael Jordan who has 6, who a lot of people think is still ahead of LeBron. I'm not talking about just the amount of rings that people have. If that was the conversation, then again, we would always bring up Bill Russell, who was fantastic and one of the greatest winners of all time, but he has 11 rings. But we don't put him always in the greatest of all time conversation because it was a different era back then, right? He didn't have to play as many games. The competition was different. This is a whole different scenario than how many rings you have. This is a much deeper conversation. I want you guys to expand your brain a little bit. I want you guys to expand the context of the conversation to understand where I'm going with this. Okay? They did it their ways. They showed everyone that, hey, doesn't matter how great of a coach I had over there. Doesn't matter if the owner was great. Doesn't matter what my teammates were with that other franchise. I moved franchise, and the winning kept on happening. And the other franchise that I just left, they went to hell. They completely fell off the face of the earth from what we were a year ago. LeBron is in Cleveland. He leaves Cleveland to go to a Miami team that didn't make the playoffs the year before. He didn't go to a stacked Miami team. They got stacked with the free agents that they brought in, but it wasn't a team that was good before he got there. They go right to the finals in the first year, and the Cavaliers are the worst team in the NBA the first year after LeBron leaves. What does that show? LeBron was the culture in Cleveland. LeBron was the system in Cleveland. And the winning was all about LeBron. Tom Brady. Tom Brady goes 12-4 last year with a New England Patriots team that we were talking about has some of the worst weapons in the league. 12-4. He leaves. He goes to a team in Tampa Bay who is 7-9, ladies and gentlemen. He did not go to a team that wins every single year. He did not go to a team that was in the playoffs last year. No, he went to a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a long, long time, in a decade plus. Right? He goes to that team, takes them straight to the Super Bowl, and wins it. The Patriots, they don't even get close to making the playoffs. It's a whole different conversation. Now listen, it does not mean that the Patriots are going to be bad for many, many years like the Cavaliers were when LeBron left, or like the Heat were for a couple years after LeBron left, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. Bill Belichick is still a fantastic coach. He is still the greatest coach to ever coach the game, in my opinion. But what this does is it really strengthens the argument on Tom Brady's side. It shows us that, and this is why you heard people like Danny Amendola days before the Super Bowl say, Tom Brady was the Patriot way, ladies and gentlemen. It was Tom Brady. It wasn't Bill Belichick. It was Tom Brady, which I don't fully agree with. I think it's a mix of both. I think Tom Brady set the standard for Bill Belichick's Patriot way system to work, if that makes sense. If Tom Brady wasn't willing to take pay cuts, if Tom Brady wasn't willing to get chewed out by Bill Belichick in front of the team, then that whole system that he created up there does not work. The whole everyone is equal, you play good, you play well, you're going to get complimented, you're going to get criticized. Does not matter who your name is, how famous you are, how much money you make. But that doesn't work if the best player on that team, Tom Brady, doesn't say, okay, I can follow these rules. I can be cool with that. So I do agree to an extent of what Amendola said, but that's what he meant. Brady is the system. Brady is the culture. Again, Belichick has a lot of time. He's still going to be coaching. He can change this narrative around a little bit if he can go out and win a couple without Tom Brady. But what Brady has done is he has strengthened his argument to the point where he now is the system. And the only other athlete during my time that I've seen be able to do that is LeBron James. Where you have a guy like Kyrie Irving, couldn't make the playoffs at all. LeBron comes in there, they go to the finals 4 straight years. Guy like Kevin Love couldn't make the playoffs at all. He gets traded to Cleveland to be with LeBron, they go to the finals 4 straight years. Kyrie Irving leaves, can't even get close to playoff success with any of his other teams. Right? You start to realize there's a true system set up here, and it's Brady and it's LeBron. And the way Brady's teammates gravitated around him, it just reminded me exactly how LeBron's teammates would gravitate around him. They show loyalty. And they talk about it's because of him. He taught us how to win. He taught us what it is like to be a leader. He taught us what it's like to go on a long playoff run. You heard Anthony Davis say those exact same sentiments last year when the Lakers got through and won the championship. You heard guys like Bruce Arians, the head coach, say, one man. We played that soundbite a couple shows ago. One man did all of this for us, and that's number 12. And he is one remarkable player. And this trophy right here, this championship right here, might be his greatest one yet. Now, what does this mean for Bill Belichick? What does this mean for the Patriots? Does Belichick have time to turn this argument around, or is it sealed shut, we're sending it off, no more? And also, what does this mean for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? A team that we didn't think could lose. A team that was lighting up the scoreboard everyone they played. Did Todd Bowles' masterful game plan create a possible future game plan for other teams to use on Mahomes? All of that is ahead on the GSMC Football Podcast. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. Hope everyone's having a great day out there. Hope everyone had a fun Super Bowl weekend, had some chips, had some salsa, wings, pizza, whatever your favorite Super Bowl dish. I hope you got to enjoy it with some friends and family. Smart, sensible. And as we now head into the NFL offseason, and what a crazy offseason it's going to be. Look, we've already had one star quarterback, Matthew Stafford, get traded. We've got another one, as Adam Schefter reporting, that could be traded any day now in Carson Wentz. How is that going to turn out? I hear now that the Eagles are asking for way too much. There's actually a quote from one NFL executive saying that it is laughable how much they are asking for. So will they come down on that price? Is Carson Wentz for sure done in Philly? Or can they square things up and make it work? To me, it seems like Carson Wentz wants out. And sometimes there is no issue with that. Sometimes in life, you just need a new change of scenery. Sometimes that's okay for professional football players as well. Seriously, you get into a rut. You do the same thing over and over. And you just kind of lose your luster. You lose your magic with that job. And you need to change it up. You need to go from the cold weather to a warm city, or you need to go from a warm city to a cold city. That happens to us in real life as well. Well, in the football world, I think that's the case with Carson Wentz. With everything that's happened there, the backup quarterback winning the Super Bowl, the Eagles making so many stupid moves like posting a statue already when they say that the future is the real quarterback, the starting quarterback, the guy that they drafted number 2 overall, but then they go and post a statue already of the backup. So every single day, Carson Wentz has to walk in there and see that. Then finally they trade Nick Foles. He gets over that hurdle. He takes them to the playoffs. And what do they go do? They draft another quarterback in the second round. And not just any quarterback, a Heisman runner-up quarterback. A quarterback that lost a total of 4 or 5 games in college in Jalen Hurts. And instead of drafting rookie of the almost rookie of the year, because now we found out that Justin Herbert won rookie of the year, but Justin Jefferson was runner-up. Instead of drafting him, they go and draft a receiver out of TCU by the name of Jalen Reagor, who, no disrespect to Jalen, no disrespect to TCU, but if you go look at Justin Jefferson, he doubled the stats that Jalen had in college. Jalen was a good player, but there was no reason at all for them not to take Justin Jefferson. They go and do that. None of it makes sense, and Carson Wentz is clearly fed up with it, and he wants out. Now, I told you guys, I'm a little bit indifferent on this because I am on Carson Wentz's side in terms of I think he's still a good quarterback. I know a lot of people have jumped off that bandwagon, but I still think Carson Wentz can ball. I don't think it's possible to just fall off the face of the earth with the talent that he has. He was almost an MVP if he didn't get hurt. He goes through these injuries, then he finally gets over the whole Nick Foles thing, and he leads them the Eagles to the playoffs with Greg Ward, a former quarterback, as his number 1 receiver. He showed me in 2019, the year before this year, that he is special, that he can play. Goes out, throws 27 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. So I've been on his side. I've had some heated debates with friends that just think Wentz is trash. And I backed him up over and over. And I still stick by that. I think he can play. But I do not like what he is doing now. And I'm all for the idea of getting a change of scenery. But it almost felt like he told the organization, I don't want Doug Peterson anymore. So they listen. They go out and hire Nick Sirianni. And that's no accident. Nick Sirianni is the offensive coordinator under Frank Wright. Wentz had his best seasons in the NFL when Frank Wright was his offensive coordinator. So there's a match there. And what do? They go and hire him, and Wentz still says he wants out. But Wentz, they picked you, man. They fired the Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson, meaning they picked you, and he still wants out. That part I don't like, but I get it. He's frustrated by everything they've done. He's frustrated by benching him. He's frustrated that they go and draft another quarterback in the second round when he could have used more talent around him. He's frustrated by just the draft picks in general that they've done. And he's frustrated with the whole thing about the statue, I'm sure. So now he wants out. And listen, anybody will tell you that's played in Philly. Philly is a tough place to play. It is. You gotta be clothed by different skin to have success and long-term success in Philadelphia. Donovan McNabb was the perfect quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's tough, rugged. That's what you have to be. Carson Wentz might just not be that. He's a kid from, the Dakotas. Not used to that kind of pressure. So maybe he can slide on out of there. And I believe if he goes to a good situation, he will be right back as a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. But we're going to get all into that of where he's going to go and who should go after him and what's going to happen next. Remember, we've got Deshaun Watson still wanting a trade. The Houston Texans are adamant that they plan to not trade him, but he still wants out. How far will Deshaun Watson take this? How far will Deshaun Watson be willing to go? Will he sit out? if it comes to it, push comes to shove, will he sit out and say, you know what, I'll forego some of my paychecks if that gets me out of this place? I believe he will. I believe he is so fed up with the Texans organization that he will sit out. And he will make sure that he gets traded. And I don't blame him one bit. So we all thought, okay, this is, we've got a lot going on, right? Stafford gets traded. Carson Wentz wants out. Deshaun Watson wants out. This is going to be an NFL offseason to remember, right? Maybe there's a couple secret quarterbacks that are kind of going under the radar that might get out, like Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins. Could some of these guys be on the move? And then, to add it all on top, the cherry on top, Russell Wilson comes out the other day on the Dan Patrick Show and says, I'm fed up with the Seattle Seahawks. And just when we thought that the offseason was juicy enough, we get hit with this. Thank you, Russell Wilson, for giving us even more content to talk about. Now, there is a difference between what Russell Wilson is doing and what Deshaun Watson is doing. And I have a problem with the way Russell Wilson is doing this. And I'm going to talk to you guys just about it right after this, okay? But I first want to get back into the Super Bowl because we're still fresh off the Super Bowl. I want to talk a little bit more about that, and then we're going to spend the last couple of segments of this show talking about what's going to happen this offseason and what's happening with Russell Wilson. Because now that Russell Wilson has come out and said what he said on the Dan Patrick Show, which I'm going to explain it a little bit more, but he essentially said he wants more power within the organization. He wants to be involved in making the decisions. He's tired of getting sacked so much, and he wants to win. And that he pretty much said that he is fed up with the Seattle Seahawks organization right now. So we're going to get into, could Russell Wilson possibly be on the move? And why is Russell Wilson doing this now? So we'll get into that, okay? But back to the Super Bowl here. What this loss means for a couple of people. I mean, what this loss in Kansas City means, and what this win means for Brady and for Belichick. All right, so quickly to the Belichick side of things. The win by Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it hurts Bill Belichick's argument even more. Okay, now listen, I want to start off by saying this. Belichick is still coaching. Belichick will most likely be coaching longer than Tom Brady is playing. Okay, that's one. So Belichick still has time to prove what he can do. This is an argument that is not finished yet. This is an argument that's not even close to finishing yet because Brady still has time of playing according to him. So right now where we are, though, is we are clearly having Brady win the race by miles. Okay, this isn't a neck-and-neck horse race here. Brady is miles and miles ahead of Belichick, and he is looking back laughing right now. But it doesn't mean Belichick can't catch up. But what it does mean is the pressure is on. The pressure is on Belichick, and it's on him immediately. He cannot go out this season and have another dud. Because if he has 2 dud seasons in a row, then the chirping is really going to start to come out. Wait a second. What kind of coach is Belichick? I mean, was it all Tom Brady? Because right now, everyone is on Tom Brady's side. Right now, Tom Brady is the hero. As I said, Tom Brady is the system, he's the culture, and he is the winner. And I fully believe that. And even if Belichick goes out and wins, I still believe Tom Brady is one of those special athletes like LeBron that is the system. But what Belichick can do is if he goes out and wins is he can show that, yeah, Brady might be the system, but I'm the system as well. I can coach wherever and I can win with whoever. If Belichick can go out and win. The problem is if he doesn't go out and win right away, and I'm not talking about win the Super Bowl, I'm just talking about at least get back to the playoffs. He needs to get back to the playoffs next year because if he starts to string together a couple of losing seasons in a row, it is going to really devastate his side of the argument, because it's going to start to look like Brady was not just a huge part of this. Brady was everything. Because let's remember, before Brady, Belichick got fired as the head coach in Cleveland, didn't work out there, and then he had a couple losing seasons in New England until he brought in Tom Brady, 6th-round pick out of Michigan. Things started to change. Right? So if Brady leaves, and the worst possible thing could happen, Brady goes in, not just leaves, goes in, wins in his first year, now it's starting to look like, okay, what does this mean for Belichick? What does this mean for good old Bill Belichick? And if he can come out next year, he gets all of his players back, he gets a quarterback, and he wins, then it completely changes things, because it shows, you know what? That 1 year that Belichick just lost, we kind of give him a pass there. Why? It was COVID. They had more players opt out than anyone else in the NFL. He had a new quarterback in Cam Newton who he's never got a whole offseason to work with. Now, you can use these same arguments and say, well, yeah, Brady had the same thing, but he still won. I get that. But it's different with coaching. You got to implement a system. And as I've said many times, your system can be the best system ever. You still need some players. And frankly, the Patriots do not have talent on their roster. They've got some talent, but it is not a talented roster overall, which worries me about the Belichick argument. Because, yes, players are going to come back, and yes, they have cap space, and they'll be able to sign some players in the offseason. But how many players are going to want to go there, one? And two, how well are they really going to be able to develop that roster? And then more importantly, who's the quarterback going to be? Because we've already heard Matt Stafford say he's willing to go almost anywhere except New England. Now, is that because Matt Patricia was his coach in Detroit for the last couple of years, and now he's back in New England and he did not like Matt Patricia? Maybe. Or is that because he looked at the Patriots roster and said, this is not a good roster, I do not want to go there? Or is it because it's cold weather? Who knows? But I think you have to take into account that Matthew Stafford wanted out of Detroit, a city where he couldn't get a win at all, and he said no to the team that's been the winningest franchise over the last 2 decades. That's not a good look. Is that something that we start to see happen more? Is there a domino effect now where we see more and more players say, you know what? I think I'd rather go to Tampa. I think I'd rather take a little bit of a pay cut, go play with Tom Brady. And you know what? I think I'd rather take more money. Because look, when Tom Brady was in New England, players were taking less money to go play with him. Just like players take less money to go play with LeBron. Because you want to win, especially when you get older in your career. Will we see, now that Brady's gone, there's no one to gravitate towards. So what they're going to have to do to get players in there is they're going to have to overpay them just like every other team out there. Because when it's free agency time and teams are bargaining with other teams, the Patriots always had the luxury of saying, hey, I understand that X team over there is going to offer you $45 million, but we'll offer you $20 million, and we'll guarantee you that you're going to make a deep playoff run. You're going to get to play with one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it in Tom Brady, and you're going to be a winner. Well, when you pitch that, that sounds pretty nice, right? Let's say a lot of players say, I've already made a lot of money, but I haven't gotten the whole winning down yet, so let me go there. That's not going to fly anymore because there is no certainty that they're going to win. So you start to look at it and say, now you're just like every other organization, and you have to outbid all the other teams that want them. For instance, Chris Godwin, the wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he is a free agent this year. And I think he would be perfect for Bill Belichick and the Patriots. He's more of a slot guy, but he also can play outside. He's quick. He's got great hands. He's a leader. He's a good player. Belichick would love him. But he's going to cost a lot of money. Is Belichick willing to spend money? They have money this offseason. Is he willing to spend it? Belichick has always been that guy who has said, you want this big of a contract? Sorry, go get it somewhere else. That's not how we do it here. But Brady's always been able to overcome that. He's always been able to make that look good. That philosophy will not work when you don't have a Tom Brady there to sit by your side in those free agency meetings and say, hey, look, you see those 6 Super Bowl rings over there? This is why you take less money. What's Bill Belichick going to say now? Hey, come play over here, take a discount, but I don't know who's going to be throwing you the ball yet. We don't know who our quarterback's going to be. These free agents are going to laugh. They're going to say, you know what? I'd rather go take less money to go play somewhere else where I know my stats are going to look good. That's how the NFL works. Look, the NFL is a brotherhood. These players talk amongst each other. More players are going to want to go play with Matt Stafford in Los Angeles. Matt Stafford said the other day, right after he got traded to LA, his phone was blowing up about players wanting to come play there with him. These things start to happen when players around the league see good opportunities to win, especially the older players, which is what you want on your team when you're trying to win championships. You want veterans. You want smart players. The Patriots don't have any of that. They don't have a direction. They don't have a quarterback. And they don't have many weapons. How is Bill Belichick going to overcome that? Because I'll tell you what. If Bill Belichick can go out there and overcome all that and get that team back into the playoffs by next season, that completely changes things. That will lift Bill Belichick up so quickly back into this argument. Now, Belichick's going to have to win a ring without Tom Brady to get back tied with him in the argument. That's a given. But he can narrow the gap if he can change this slump that they're in. And granted, it's only a 1-year slump, but because of where they're situated and the players they have on their roster, it looks like it's going to be a lot longer than a 1-year slump. If Belichick can turn that around instantly and they're back in the playoffs next year, they're back with a winning record next year, that is going to do wonders. It will lift him up in the argument, in the debate, and there is no doubt about that. But right now, Tom Brady is lapping Bill Belichick in the argument because he is the system. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I'm your host, Kayvon Izami. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I will get into Patrick Mahomes. Does he deserve blame for what happened on Sunday night? Who deserves the most blame on the Kansas City Chiefs for what happened on Sunday night? And then we'll talk about Russell Wilson. Why is Russell Wilson doing this now? And why is he doing it this way? Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. Segment number 3, quarter number 3 is underway here. We are 2 segments down. I hope you guys enjoyed those first 2 segments and so much to talk about. I mean, it's crazy. The NFL regular season, postseason is over, but we still have boatloads of NFL topics to talk about, so don't go anywhere, all right? These next couple shows, there is going to be so much to dissect, and we're also going to have a lot of guests on in the offseason. During the season, we didn't really do many guests. We like GSMC likes me to be just one-on-one and really dissect the games and talk about matchups myself. It's great for myself because I get a lot of practice, and then you guys listen to what I have to say. But during the off season, when things calm down, we'll bring in a lot of guests to, talk about free agency, to talk about the NFL draft. We're going to really dive into free agency in the NFL draft once we get near there. Look, the NFL is a billion-dollar organization for a reason. There will always be big topics in the news, so definitely do not go anywhere. We will be still putting out lots of great content as we go here for the next couple of months. So, great season, though. I appreciate all of you guys that stuck with me throughout this season. We got to do every single show, every single week during this NFL season. That's special. We feel very thankful. We feel blessed. We give a big thank you to GSMC, Golden State Media Concepts, for what they've done and given us this opportunity. But we're not going anywhere. We will be here for the long haul to keep talking football with you guys. So thank you very much for all your help. Now, what did this Super Bowl say about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? Look, remember, Patrick Mahomes, 3 years in the league. He has gone to the AFC Championship game all 3 years. He's gone to the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years. He was one coin flip away from going to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, but instead, the overtime rules, you guys know how much I hate those. In the NFL, they didn't allow him to get the ball. Brady and the Patriots won a couple years ago, and Brady went on to the Super Bowl and not the Kansas City Chiefs. So, look, he has had arguably the best start to his career than we've ever seen in the NFL history, and he will be back. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid, they will be back, okay? This isn't some team that's just gone. All of their players pretty much are locked up going into next year. Travis Kelce is still locked up. Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Tyrann Mathieu. All of these guys will be there for the long haul. Andy Reid will be there. So I have no worries at all about Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes, he will have foot surgery this week for his turf toe to get that fixed, which will help him in the long run. I know he was really hobbled with that. But what this Super Bowl did was, first of all, Todd Bowles deserves a huge pat on the back. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he put up a game plan of a lifetime. He really did. The game plan that he used against this high vaunted, before Sunday night we thought wasn't able to be stopped offense was incredible. It really was incredible. And he had a lot of help because if you remember, these two teams played each other in the beginning. They played each other in the regular season. And the Chiefs absolutely cooked the Bucs defense. They tried to play one-on-one, man versus man against Tyreek Hill. He went for 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. So I would be very curious to see if this outcome was the same, if Todd Bowles didn't get the luxury of getting to see game tape of their first meeting together. Now, who knows? It doesn't matter because what happened is they did get to see game tape, and Todd Bowles, being the mastermind that he is, this is how you know he's a great football coach, because he went and watched what happened in the first game. He saw how much the offense destroyed his defense, and he put together a game plan based off of that. So he literally did the definition of coaching. He learned, and then he coached his players on how we're going to fix the mistakes that we did the first time around. And it worked. And Todd Bowles deserves the MVP of that game because it was masterful what he did. And he deserves a head coaching job. And if he is not a head coach by next offseason, that will be a crime. Because he is a fabulous coach. Brian Leftwich, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, he deserves a lot of credit. He came up with a fantastic game plan for the offense. They didn't push the ball down the field too much. They didn't take risks. They did what the defense gave them. They did not try and feel like, oh my God, we're playing the Chiefs. We need to go for a home run every single game, every single play. No, they took it. They did their screen passes. They ran the ball. And then when they had their open shots, they took their shots. And they used Gronk in the run game. They used Gronk in the passing game. And Gronk was the best tight end on the field Sunday night, not Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is a fantastic pass catcher. He's not a very good run blocker. That is why Gronk is so special. Because Gronk is not just so good at catching the ball, he's also one of the best blocking tight ends in NFL history. He's an amazing blocker as a tight end. And that really helped out keeping Tom Brady clean. And that's what won the game, ladies and gentlemen, right there. One quarterback, at the end of the game, his jersey looked like he just washed it, and that's it. The other quarterback looked like he just rolled around in mud for 4 hours. And that was Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes was running around like a chicken with his head cut off the entire game. ESPN Next Gen Stats had one of the best stats ever. Mahomes ran for a total of 500 yards during that game while he was running around behind the line of scrimmage from those beast of a defensive front four the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had. He was running around like crazy. 500 yards. That explains it all. And that's why I always talk about when you are building a team in the NFL, the trenches are what matter the most. Look, it's always fun drafting your skill position. It's always fun drafting the shiny new toy. The 4.3 40 wide receiver or the big tight end, the beast running back who will run over everyone. The great pass catcher out of the backfield. It's so fun drafting those guys. Those guys are the ones that sell jerseys. But the people that are in the trenches, they win championships. If you have a good offensive line and a good defensive line, you will make the playoffs. And then anything can happen from there. The difference on Sunday night was not because Tom Brady was better than Patrick Mahomes. It was not because Leonard Fournette was better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's not because Mike Evans was better than Tyreek Hill or because Gronk was better than Travis Kelce. No. It was because the Buccaneers' offensive line was better than the Chiefs' offensive line. And the Buccaneers' defensive line was better than the Chiefs' defensive line. The Buccaneers didn't just win in the trenches, they dominated in the trenches. The Buccaneers kept their quarterback clean, and the Buccaneers made sure the Chiefs quarterback was going to get dirty all game long. That is the first reason why they won. The second reason, Bruce Arians outcoached Andy Reid. Now, when have you heard that before? That Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy got outcoached. You don't hear that often because those are two stellar all-time great coaches, right? But they got outcoached. And they got outcoached bad. And honestly, I think a little bit of arrogance on their side cost them this football game. There is not a quarterback out there other than maybe Deshaun Watson that would have been able to play as well as Mahomes did under the circumstances of Sunday night. And I get it. You're looking at the stats and you're saying, Kayvon, he didn't even throw a touchdown. How are you saying he played well? He was running for his life on every single play. And he still managed to hit two receivers wide open in the end zone, hit him right in the face, and drop the ball. He still managed to hit Travis Kelce a couple times right in the hands, drop the ball. If that was any other quarterback other than Deshaun Watson, they would have been sacked 100 times and they wouldn't even got 9 points on the board. But because of Mahomes' just crazy athletic ability, being able to throw the ball on all different sides of his arm, being able to run around the way he does with turf toe, he was able to keep them in that game for a little bit of the time. But his head coach did not help him out. His head coach did not make it easier for him. His head coach actually got him hit more because of his game plan. And he never corrected and changed his game plan. And that's where Andy Reid deserves a lot of criticism. Because he looked at the weapons that he has, he looked at what they did all season, and he said, we've got enough weapons, but we have Mahomes. Eventually we're going to click, and we're going to make a run and come back here. And that's what he trusted. He trusted what they've done in the past instead of realizing, I've got to change some things up here. My offensive line is pretty much non-existent. I am letting the Buccaneers front four. The Buccaneers weren't even blitzing, ladies and gentlemen. They weren't even blitzing. They were just bringing their normal front four, and they were still getting to Mahomes every single time. And Andy Reid didn't make an adjustment for it. Run the football. Do some screen passes. Do some dump-offs real quick. Get the ball out of Mahomes' hands. Instead, every single time, we're watching Mahomes try and hold the ball for 4 or 5 seconds to let his receivers and his tight ends get open downfield. I was standing there screaming at the TV, what are you doing? Mahomes does not have time to hold on to the football. You have to get the football out of his hands. And what happened in the start of the first half? The start of the first half, they came out and ran the football. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire picked up 12 yards. He picked up 15 yards. They were running the football. Next thing you know, back to Mahomes running around with it like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to wait for someone to get open downfield. So you had to run around and buy time. The poor guy ran for 500 yards behind the line of scrimmage in one football game. Quarterbacks don't even run for 500 yards like that in a full season. He did that in one game because his coach didn't help him out. I love Andy Reid more than anyone. I think Andy Reid is such an awesome coach. He is a coach that I would want my son to play for. He's a cool guy as well. Nice guy. But he let Patrick Mahomes down on Sunday night. He did. He let his star young quarterback down on Sunday night. He went into the game knowing that Eric Fisher, his best offensive lineman, was out. He was injured. He knew that he was down 2 starting offensive linemen going into the game. He knew that he was playing against the best defensive line in the NFL. By far the hottest defensive line in the NFL. He knew that he was playing against a front four in Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh, who were just outlasting and outrushing, out-energizing teams left and right every single postseason game. A team that hit a front four that hit Aaron Rodgers 15 times the 2 weeks before the NFC Championship game. Andy Reid knew all this stuff. Why was he not getting the ball out of Mahomes' hands as quick as possible? That's what I don't understand. And to me, that is what lost them the game. And the fact that they couldn't guard anyone. They could not win in the trenches. If you're a general manager out there, the best way to build up your football team is by free agency and drafting offensive linemen and defensive linemen. If you can block for your quarterback, he doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't even have to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If you give a starting NFL caliber quarterback time to sit back and throw the ball, you can make a serious run in this league. And on the opposite side, if you can rush and make that other quarterback uncomfortable, you can make a serious run in this league. Think about this, guys. Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost a football game by more than one possession in his 3 years in the NFL. He's been in the NFL for 3 years, and he's never been blown out. How is that possible? Never been blown out, not once. In his entire football career, I'm not just talking about the NFL, I'm talking about college, high school, he has never gone a game where he doesn't throw at least one touchdown, or he doesn't at least score a touchdown. His offense doesn't score a touchdown. Todd Bowles and that defense changed both of those, ended both of those streaks in one game. They didn't allow that Chiefs offense to score a touchdown, and they blew Patrick Mahomes out for the first time in his NFL career. That is how good and prepared this team was. The Chiefs were not prepared. The Chiefs looked at it and said, yeah, that Bucs team is good, but we've got Patrick Mahomes, we've got Tyreek Hill, we've got Travis Kelce, we've got Sammy Watkins, we've got Mecole Hardman, we've got weapons on weapons on weapons. Yeah, you know what? We are losing. We are down our two starting offensive linemen. That is a good point, but because we've got all those people I just named, it's all right. We'll make it work. Oh, we're down 21-6. It's all right. We've been in this position. Oh, guess what? We were in this position last year in the Super Bowl when we were down 10, 15 points to San Francisco. We'll make it work. Don't worry. What ends up happening? You didn't make it work this time. You did not adjust. They got arrogant. They got comfortable. Comfortable might be the best word to use because for so many years now, we have just seen Patrick Mahomes time in and time out go out there and pull out a rabbit out of his hat, pull out magic tricks, and win the football game every single time. And this loss in this fashion might actually be the best thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because again, I know I'm ragging on Andy Reid right now, but he is still a Hall of Fame football coach. He is still one of the best football coaches to ever do it. And he got comfortable. He maybe got a bit arrogant, but now he sees, yeah, I got a lot of talent. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes might be the best young quarterback we've seen, but I still got to help him out. I still have to be able to change up my game plan. We better do a better job drafting some offensive linemen just in case we get in this situation again where someone gets hurt. So this loss, while it sucks that it was in the Super Bowl, it is going to help the Chiefs in the long run. They won't get as comfortable. They'll realize that people can figure them out and that they've got to change things up to make sure that they get back there, which I fully believe they will get back there. I think Patrick Mahomes is a special quarterback. He is not done winning Super Bowls. He will be back. He just won't be the GOAT. And what happened on Sunday is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, they got Brady'd. Just like Rodgers got Brady'd, just like Drew Brees got Brady'd, they got Brady'd. Brady showed up, and Brady won. It's what he does. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening today. I appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to focus on segment number 4, all about Russell Wilson wanting out now. Can that possibly be true? Deshaun Watson, will he get his wish of getting out? Why did Russell Wilson do it this way? We'll talk about it all right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
You are listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Hope you're having a lovely day as we enter segment number 4, quarter number 4. And what a show it's been. I mean, so much going on. The Super Bowl, also things going on with Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. And we've talked all about it on this show, and we're going to keep talking about it as we go through the offseason. But it's been a blast. It's been a fun season, breaking down every single game with you guys, really just keeping everyone updated on the loop of the top storylines and even not even the top ones, just storylines out there that maybe might not get as much of attention as a national radio show would, and just kind of filling in all the blanks from there. And I hope you guys have all enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun for me, and I can't wait to continue it as we go through the offseason here, because this is going to be an offseason to remember for the NFL. When you think about offseasons in terms of free agency, you usually think about the NBA, right? Because the NBA and their players, it's a very player movement league. A lot of players like to team up with each other. They like to move around. It doesn't matter if you just got paid a, 4-year, $150 million deal. You can find a way to get out if you're not happy with your organization. And we've seen the players really leverage that power as of late. And the NFL has always looked at it and we kind of always have heard rumors about how the NFL players love the way the NBA does it, how their contracts are enormous and they're jealous about that. And now we're starting to see maybe a tide, maybe a flip, right? Where now the NFL players are saying, you know what, we can do this too. We have just as much power, if not more, especially when you're at the quarterback position, right? Because when you're at the quarterback position, I could argue that is the most important position in all of sports. In all of sports. Look, you could say hockey, to be a goalie in hockey is extremely important because you're not going to win a Stanley Cup without a good goalie. But with that being said, a lot of these teams in hockey, they rotate goalies. They'll have one main guy, but then, you don't play all 82 games in a hockey season usually as a goalie, so you get rotated. But to win the Stanley Cup, you usually have that one goalie that gets on fire, that can stand on his head, block every single shot. So goalie in hockey is extremely important. But I still think quarterback is the most important position in all of sports, because you look at these teams in the NFL, and then you look at these teams in college. All the good teams have one thing in common. Yes, good coaching, good this, good that. You get yourself a quarterback, anything can happen. Coach O down in LSU, Coach Orgeron, and I don't mean to pick on him, but the facts are the facts. Has he ever really been that great of a coach? A fantastic guy, a great recruiter. There's no doubt about that. That man can recruit. But we've seen him try and be a head coach at places, and it hasn't been very successful. Well, guess what happens? Joe Brady comes in as a QB's coach. Joe Burrow comes in, a fantastic quarterback. Joe Burrow leads that team to a national title game, right? Like, the quarterback position is so important, and it shows because if you get the right guy, this team your team can get flipped around in a second. The Buffalo Bills have been looking for a quarterback ever since Jim Kelly retired. Finally, they get this guy out of Wyoming, Josh Allen. Now they're going to the playoffs every year. They're winning the AFC East every year now, it seems like. Things can change that quickly. Kansas City Chiefs had a great quarterback in Alex Smith, right? I almost called him Alex Mahomes. Alex Smith, and they were getting to the playoffs almost every single year, but then it would stop there. They couldn't get over the hump. Once you got Patrick Mahomes, everything changed. Then they were winning playoff games. They were winning Super Bowls. And that's kind of how it is, because that quarterback position will take you from having the first overall draft pick to being in the playoffs in the matter of one season. The Jacksonville Jaguars this year, they're going to get Trevor Lawrence with their first overall pick. Because they're getting Trevor Lawrence, their entire franchise could change in a snap of a finger. As long as Trevor Lawrence is the guy that we all believe he will be, they will be winning games and making the playoffs in no time, because that's how good Trevor Lawrence could be, and that's how important the quarterback position is. So why do I talk about this? Well, I talk about it because quarterbacks are now bringing up their use of power. Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. And I don't care what anyone says, he deserves every right to make that statement. By the way the Houston Texans and what they've done to him, it's been unfair. It's been wrong. They've lied to him. They've misdirected him with the way they think the franchise is going to go. They approached him asking what he wants to do at the head coach and GM position. He gives them a list, and they don't even interview the main person on that list, and Eric Bieniemy, until after all that comes out. Then they say, okay, we better go interview this guy. What the Houston Texans have done is they've gotten their own way, and they've screwed up. So now they're going to have to pay for that, and Deshaun Watson will leave. And look, a lot of people are saying, you know what, I think they're going to work it out. I don't think that they're going to trade Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson really wants out, he will get out. Now, he might have to sit out. He might have to lose some money and not show up to training camp or practice and stuff like that. But if he does that, then the Houston Texans will cave and Deshaun Watson will get out. And I don't think that Deshaun should give in. I think he should wait it out, even if it costs him a couple paychecks. Let him get to a better spot. Because even if you do make amends, even if you guys do get back on the same page, look at the team, Deshaun Watson. You're most likely going to lose J.J. Watt. The team is not very good. You don't have a first-round draft pick this year. It's not going anywhere. It makes no sense for you to go back to that situation. Let them bring in a rookie QB. Let them start over. Let them get some draft picks to start their rebuild that way. Another quarterback that is using his power in a much different way is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is using his power by standing up to the big Mr. Rich, Mr. Moneybags, Mr. Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. When do we see players do that? When have we seen a quarterback who is playing for Dallas, who Jerry says, look, you're going to get paid a lot here, but you know what? You're going to get paid even more because you're Jerry's sales pitch, because you're a Dallas Cowboy. Because you played and are the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, he's going to say, look at Troy Aikman. He's going to say, look at Tony Romo. Look at the money they're making outside of their career now that they have retired because they were Dallas Cowboys. And we all know the brand of the Cowboys is massive. See, that's Jerry Jones' whole thing. But Dak's saying, I don't care about that. I can deal with all that when that time comes. Right now, I want to be paid like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And he's not budging. And I love that. I love that. And he has every single right and leverage on his side to do that. And Jerry screwed up this position, this whole contract situation so bad by paying Zeke first, by paying Amari Cooper first, by paying James Smith. He paid everyone in the organization except the most important player, Dak Prescott. And this is what's got him there. So if Dak wants 4 years instead of 5 years, then he's going to wait till he gets those 4 years. And if you don't offer it, he's going to play another year on the franchise tag, and then he's going to walk. And the Cowboys will be back in another situation looking for another QB. Why should Dak Prescott give in? He shouldn't. He shouldn't. It doesn't make any sense. Hold your ground. You know your worth. Use it. Go out there and get what you believe you're worth. Because I guarantee you something, Dak. If the Cowboys don't give it to you, there is another team out there that will give it to you in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Because these teams are desperate for real starting NFL franchise quarterbacks. And you're one of those guys. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. And I just, Jerry and the Cowboys, they have the money. Make them pay. Make them pay for your services. Because you know what? If they don't like it, you can tell them, hey, look what happened this year when I got hurt. They were a woeful team. They were terrible. They were terrible. And the only reason that they were still in playoff contention all year is because they played in the worst division in all of football. If they played in any other division, they would have been eliminated by like week 7. Dak and your agent, all you have to do is say, put on the film of how this team and this offense played once I went down. And that will tell you everything. If they want to roll the dice on that, best of luck to them. You go to another place and find a home. And then we have the third quarterback, who is now showing power, and that's Russell Wilson. Now, I am on an opposite side of this, though. Okay? First of all, I'm glad that Russell Wilson is showing his power. I'm glad that he's making everyone aware that he does have power if he wants to use it. But I do not like the way that Wilson is doing it. Again, I'm all for player movement. I'm always on the player's side most of the time. But, see, Deshaun Watson is asking to be out because the organization went behind his back. He doesn't trust the organization. It's hard to work for a company if you have to worry about what's going on behind your back 24/7. If you can't trust the people in charge of that organization. It's hard. It's hard to work for a company like that, right? So, and then also, the way Deshaun Watson went about it was he called out the organization. He told everybody the truth. He told everybody what's happening. He's called out the owner. He called out the front office. And he told us that they lied to him. It told us that they wanted his help. They wanted him to be involved. And then they went a separate route. Russell Wilson did not do that. Russell Wilson went on Dan Patrick's show. Everyone knows Dan Patrick, one of the best sportscasters to ever do it. And he said, I want to be involved more. He said, I want to be involved in the decision-making. That's great. Love it. He should have stopped right there. Love that. Russell Wilson, the reason the Seahawks are in the playoffs every year is because of you. So you're right. You should be involved more. If you want some help, if you want some say in their draft picks, go for it. They had John Snyder, who's a fantastic GM. He has not done that great of a job in drafting players as of recent. He hasn't. That's just the truth. Go look at those last couple first-round picks. Some of them are guys that are no names. So Russell says, I want to be involved more. Totally fine. You've lost in the wild card round a couple times in a row. You haven't got back to the Super Bowl, which we all know that's what you want. Yeah, maybe your intellect, you're a very smart guy. Maybe you can help us out. What do you see on the field that we need more? But he didn't stop there. And that's where I have a problem. Because then he changed it from going at the head coach and going at the front office, going at the decisions they're making, to going at his own teammates. He talked about how he's getting hit too much. Talked about how he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. He says he doesn't like how he's getting hit that much. That's calling out his offensive lineman. That's where I have a problem. Is he lying? No, he's not lying. He has been getting hit too much. Just like Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson didn't call out his teammates. No, Deshaun Watson called out the people making the decisions. You're walking a very, very slippery line when you start calling out your teammates. It puts you in an awkward position. It puts your teammates in an awkward position because now you called them out. And now they're over there sitting there thinking, so you're telling us that the reason we keep losing in the playoffs is because it's my fault? It's because we're not blocking well enough for you? And it puts him in a position where the locker room could turn on him. Now, look, that's not going to happen because Russell Wilson's a great guy. He'll probably work everything out. But Russell Wilson's not going about it the way he should be. There's right and wrong ways, in my opinion, to do this. The right way is to stick with talking to the front office. Stick with talking about the coach. Stick with talking about the decisions that they're making. You're unhappy with those. Don't bring up your teammates. Don't bring up how he keeps putting out that number. I think it's 396 or something. The amount of times he's been hit or sacked. And don't keep bringing that up because then you're starting to put your teammates into this mix, into this conversation. And then they're going to get questions asked once they get back into the locker room for training camp. The media's going to ask them, oh, what do you think about what Russell said about you guys blocking up there? That's aggravating. That's annoying. It's the wrong way to go about it. Should Russell Wilson be frustrated? Of course he should be, right? He came into the league, and think about how much success Russell Wilson had early in the league. Early. Got in there, and right away he was going to Super Bowls. Back to back, won one of them. And then if it wasn't for Pete Carroll making that call on the goal line and throwing it instead of pounding it in with Marshawn Lynch, he would have won too. And then he gets paid the big bucks, just like every other team does when they have a quarterback. And that means they don't have money to fill the rest of the roster in. And now he's been looking to get back there, and he sees guys like Tom Brady who move teams and go have success right away. Peyton Manning move teams, go have success right away. He's seeing this type of quarterback mobility, and he's saying, wait a second. Maybe I could use that type of power to get what I want here in Seattle. And I feel him on that. But you're doing it the wrong way, Russell. Love you. Great guy. You went to NC State, right down the road from me. You're doing this the wrong way. You don't call out your teammates. You don't want to be Bo Callahan. Everyone remembers Bo Callahan, right? Everyone's seen the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner. If you haven't, real quick, Bo Callahan is he's the famous quarterback. He's the Trevor Lawrence of the draft this year, okay? So he's the guy in college who everyone says is a can't-miss prospect. I mean, just the stud. He's a good-looking guy. You know, he's got everything checked off. The looks, the physical appearance, tall, strong, good stature, and then, of course, a great quarterback, right? So Kevin Costner is the GM of the Cleveland Browns. And he makes a trade to get up to that number one spot to draft Bo Callahan. And while he's doing it, he starts to have this weird feeling that something's off with this guy. So he starts to do some digging, and they find out that nobody went to Bo Callahan's 21st birthday party. And that threw him off right there. And it sounds cheesy, but it says none of his teammates showed up at his 21st birthday party. None of his teammates. And you're thinking, Kevin Costner's thinking, okay, what's wrong? This guy is the star quarterback of the team. Everyone should love the quarterback. The quarterback should be the guy. Everyone should come to his protection, come to his birthday party. Not one teammate is showing up. It's all about him. He's clearly making it all about him. The teammates don't like him. And that right there made Kevin Costner go a different way. And he ended up not drafting that quarterback. And the guy had a whole scene. The quarterback melted down, was pissed off that he didn't get picked first. And it turned out that it was probably the right pick, right? Now, I'm not saying Russell Wilson's not going to have anyone show up to his birthday party, but when you start calling out your teammates like that, eventually they're going to get pretty heated about it. You don't call out your own teammates. You don't talk about how you're getting hit too much. And to his benefit, he did say, I need to do things better as well. And, of course, Russell Wilson knows to talk like that, and he's right. He does need to do things better as well. But you stick with it. Just stick to, I want to be more part of the decision-making. Not so that I don't get hit more so my offensive line can be better so we can pick better players. No, you don't go down that route. You just stick to, I want to be more a part because I'm the quarterback, because I'm the face of this franchise, because without me, you guys would not be winning. So because of all that, I want to be more involved. If he stopped right there, 1,000% with you, Russell. 1,000% with you. Now we'll see what happens. Look, Russell Wilson's not going anywhere, all right? The Seahawks are not trading Russell Wilson. They're just not. There's no possible way that's happening. There's no way. But this is something to watch. Because if they have another year next year, they lose in the wild card round, go 10-6, 11-5, and lose in the wild card round once again, eventually Russell Wilson's going to get pretty tired of it. And we'll have to see how his teammates respond when everyone gets back in the building after an off season. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. What a Super Bowl. Buccaneers win it. Tom Brady goes for 7 Super Bowl rings, and he is now the system. Like we opened the show with. Tom Brady is now the system. Tom Brady is now where he goes, the championship winning goes. And there's only one other guy in sports that I know that can say that, and that's LeBron James. Tom Brady has now entered that route. Tom Brady is now in that tier. And that is one special special tier. Congratulations to Tom Brady. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians, you all deserved it. One hell of a season. And thank you all for following us every single week, every single show throughout this season. Hopefully you'll stick around as we go through the offseason. Remember, football is a 24/7, 12-month, all day, all night, all year type of sport. So we will keep talking about it no matter what. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast, which is always brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show, write a nice review. It really helps us out. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a great night.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.